A.J. Foyt, tremendous guy in his era. I think, and I'm not looking for a fight with A.J. Foyt. I was sorry to see A.J. Foyt race into his early 60s or whatever age he was at when he finally retired. I remember when he crashed up at Elkhart Lake, and they had to cut the guy out. And I can remember they said, what do we get? I think Dr. Trammell was there, and he said, just go back to the pits, get a hammer and hit me in the head. I'm in such goddamn pain. And I can remember also that I think it was a Lola, they had to have the factory made one with an extra wide cockpit. And I thought, honest to God, AJ, I mean, you won the race 4 times. Just stop. Just stop. And that's my one regret about AJ is that, that and when he punched Eddie Sachs in the pits, that, I remember that years ago. But put the place on the map, and like he says, drivers don't make that race, the race makes the driver. Rick Mears, I can remember what year it was, but he slammed hard coming out of the second turn, and I can remember him talking about knowing he was in trouble, so he ducked down inside the tub of the car and just slammed it as hard as you can. No real rebound, I don't recall, and he just slid down the cement wall and busted up pretty bad. And then that Saturday they helped him back in the car, and I think he'd actually broken a foot or something, but they didn't tell anybody, and they would all gather around him, the Penske boys, when he slipped into the car and qualified. I always thought he was a tremendous driver, and drove much of his career with busted up feet. I think he's hurt himself in a road race up in Canada. So that tells you there are more than just physical elements to racing. I mean, if he's able to overcome busted feet and use this to win as many races and as many 500s as he did, that's admirable. I think, Al, I think the 4th time he won, I think it was in an old show car or something that they pulled out of a mall or something, and they found an engine and they put the thing together and he won the damn race. I think he was, winning 4 times, you certainly get the credit you deserve. But then I think there's a guy like Roger Ward, who I think people regard as not just a great oval driver, but just flat out one of the great racing drivers of all time. So these guys who win are not just good at Indianapolis, although you have to be good at Indianapolis, but they're good in the world of auto racing. They're not just guys who come into town and win. These are guys who know what they're doing. I keep trying to remember this. This was great because but prior to this there was no same-day coverage of the Indianapolis 500 on television, and then ABC got the contract, but it would be delayed. They were worried that it would hurt the gate, that they would go from like 500,000 people to 490,000 people. So I was working at the ABC affiliate in Indianapolis, and they came in, the ABC crew, and it was Chuck somebody and another guy and the director and all got Lou somebody. Anyway, it was the ABC Wide World of Sports team, and it was all guys I'd known from watching Wide World of Sports, and Jim McKay. And I think Jackie Stewart might have been involved. I don't know, but they were, and so I'm just a kid. I'm like 22 or 23. And they said, we've never done this before, so we're going to double up on the coverage. And so they said, we're going to hire you, and you. And I was just a booth announcer. I was just an announcer. And the sports guy was there and the news guy was there. So I got the 4th turn. And so the day of the race I had to walk. For some reason, I had to walk all the way down the back stretch and down the short chute to 3 and 4, and then I found my place. And there's a little microphone and a headpiece, and I just stood there, and you can't hear anything, and I just stood there, and I just stood there. And all of a sudden, I see Mario Andretti walking toward the pits, and I knew there was a yellow. I had no idea what happened. I mean, you can't see anything from there. And so I thought, let me see if I can. So I said, Mario. And so he comes over, only because there's the ABC thing on the microphone. And I said, I've got Mario Andretti here. And I didn't know if anybody could hear me. And I said it 4 or 5 times. And Mario has just stepped out of a smoldering hulk of a race car. And he's standing there. He's nice enough to just stand there when he could just go anywhere he wanted. And people are screaming at him and throwing beer on him and stuff. And finally, they said, okay, go ahead. And I said, Mario, what was it like out there? I don't know what you say to the guy. And then he says some very polite, gracious answer. And then I remembered in the production meeting, will the condition of the track be a problem early on? And so I said, well, was the condition of the track a problem early on? And then he said whatever he said. And I said, okay, thanks, Mario, better luck next time. And so then I put down the thing, and then Mario walks off, and I just stood there for the rest of the race. And I didn't hear anything from anybody. And I think that was the year also later, the guy, they had parked a bunch of cars in the infield. And a guy, what was the guy's name? Slaps the outside of the wall. Mike Mosley. And he slaps the outside of the wall. He's standing up, trying to get out of the damn car. He slaps the outside wall, and the thing goes careening back over and takes out 2 or 3 cars that had been parked on the grass apron. It was horrible. So now the race is over. I don't know what to do. There's the equipment, and so I just took off my headsets and put the microphone and hung them on the fence, and I walked back to the parking lot and got in my car and drove home. And I didn't know, and then later that night, we're watching the feed on the network. Holy shit, there I am. And Jim McKay says, we're gonna go down to Bob Lewiston down in turn 4. And then I do my little report, and he comes back and he said, I'm sorry, that's not Bob Lewiston. I'm being told that's Dave Letterman. And I was on top of the world. Well, this is a sentimental pick, and I don't know if it holds up. And a guy who I think had a chance maybe to run at least in an IndyCar. I know he tested in an IndyCar just for the fun of it. Not an IndyCar driver, but could have been a great IndyCar driver, was Ayrton Senna. I just liked what he did. I liked the fact that he was a gifted driver and also a brat. I like the idea that he often, if he thought he had been treated unfairly, he would take it out on the track. It seemed like a more innocent version of racing than we have now. I liked what he represented to the people of the world and the people of Brazil. My wife and I got to meet him when they were running a Formula One race in Phoenix, and we met Ron Dennis, and he took us into their motorhome, and Ayrton, a kid, very sweet, and he kept handing out helmet pins, and I was touched by that, and when he died, I mean, it was it was almost too poetic that the greatest, the most beloved, is killed in what he's best at. It was too perfect, that ending. You know, it just seemed like it was almost destined, and yeah, maybe for not all the right reasons, but those are the reasons that I would have to say. I always admired Jimmy Clark. I always admired Jackie Stewart. I thought Bobby Ray Hall, guys like Bobby Ray Hall, he always reminded me of Alain Prost, smart guys who did the right. I remember one year when Bobby and Michael Andretti were chasing each other for the championship, and Bobby was unable to finish the race, which meant that Michael was going to win the championship. And the first thing Bobby did when he got out of his car was go to the pit next to him, which was Michael Andretti, and just started congratulating the crew. And I thought, yeah, that's a guy. So I can't take him out of the equation either. But just in terms of the romanticism of racing and the emotional appeal and the sort of the mysticism has enveloped his legacy. I'd have to say now it's Senna. This is a tremendous question. This is a tremendous question. So we're stuck. I have to pick one of the Unsers. This is a tremendous question. I'm going to go with Bobby because I am under the impression that he won't shut up. And it would either be endlessly entertaining that he wouldn't shut up, or it would give me the courage to kill him and eat him.